Okay. Apologies for not getting any direct discussion videos out immediately after the direct presentation for the Switch 2. As soon as I posted my reaction to the direct, I sat and really debated back and forth about how I wanted to approach any discussion videos I did regarding such a really massive and packed direct. When you're a YouTuber and big news about your channel's topic comes out, usually you try to pump out a video ASAP to catch the algorithm and the hype, but with an ongoing 10-hour-a-day subathon and April 2nd also being a day where I was on the front page of Twitch, ultimately, I had to cut some things. So, the normal Switch Direct discussion video is probably not happening. At least in the normal sense. But I think that's fine actually, because I have less to say about the overall direct, other than it being really good, and more to say about more niched down subjects. So in lieu of a larger video, I'll just be making smaller ones over the course of whenever I can get to them. I have a lot to say about Donkey Kong Bananza, but this video is specifically about a few observations made by myself and a few other Donkey Kong enthusiasts. King K Rool was, at one point, the Bowser to Donkey Kong's Mario, so to speak. If there was a Donkey Kong game, you bet King K Rool and his Kremlings were going to be there causing problems for the DK crew. This lasted for the entirety of the Super Nintendo and the N64 era for Donkey Kong, until Rareware was purchased by Microsoft. When that happened, a lot of people assumed King K Rool was also bought by Microsoft, since he was a creation of Rare rather than a creation of Nintendo. But, to my understanding, that is simply not what happened. King K Rool has always seemingly been a Nintendo property. Regardless of who owns his IP, King K Rool has been dormant since, effectively Donkey Kong 64. When the next mainline Donkey Kong game came around, Donkey Kong Country Returns, King K Rool and his Kremlings were very much absent and replaced by a new kind of enemy. They continued to be replaced in the following sequel, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and people had kind of concluded that maybe Nintendo had just retired them, despite how iconic they frankly are to the franchise. Now take this with a grain of salt. But what if I told you that I actually do believe, with Donkey Kong Bananza, we will in fact see the return of the Kremlings and King K Rool? And yes, of course, there is evidence to back this up. This image on the screen is from the Donkey Kong Bananza website. As you can see here, there are two visible upright mechanical towers of a sort. And they do look like they could be pretty reptilian in nature. In fact, I'd say they resemble King K Rool's mobile island fortress from Donkey Kong 64. The flatter teeth on the one to the left do make it appear maybe horse-like, but that's notably the ice forming those teeth instead of the tower itself. We don't know if this tower maybe, in the past, had a bunch of long, razor-sharp teeth. You know, like a crocodile's. Additionally, the game trailer does show that there are crocodile enemies. In fact, when DK defeats one of these stone crocodiles, a golden skeleton falls out of the enemy. As you can see in this shot, a secondary hit defeats the skeleton for good. This is from the Donkey Kong Bananza trailer that was shown in the direct. This implies the skeleton needs to be struck down in order for the enemy to be defeated. Undead Kremlings are actually not unheard of. We've seen them aplenty in the original DKC trilogy. Now this tower right here is very curiously similar to Crocodile Isle from DKC 2. Does it look like a one-to-one match? When I break down the shape, not really. But it's close enough to raise eyebrows. This new tower shape and the neon signs on it feel like a throwback to Crocodile Isle, I would say at the very least. I assume this flat top part here is supposed to be part of like a banana stem. Maybe, you know, there's a lot of banana shaped stuff. Maybe this tower is also supposed to be banana shaped. but it kind of feels like a castle could sit up there as well. Where things get really interesting, however, is this screenshot, which was taken from the Nintendo Treehouse. This is technically over a different part of the world map in Bonanza than the aforementioned tower, but it clearly shows that this game is taking place in some sort of place that is underwater. Crocodile Isle sank to the bottom of the ocean in Donkey Kong Country 2. Like, I'm not saying that this is definitely Crocodile Isle, but that's a really weird coincidence. Additionally, gold seems to be a really pivotal part of DK Bananza, and I find that interesting because the Kremlings are, well, pirates. And what do pirates go after? I mean, the answer is booty, but let's be real, booty is generally gold in most media. And gold coins have often been associated with DKC titles in the past, at least for the original trilogy. It's this four-headed boss here, though, that really makes King K Rool's return feel foreshadowed. Obviously, the crocodilian heads speak for themselves, but it's the details that are the most important part. This pattern on the rock, as pointed out by Twitter user, I'm so sorry if I botched your name, Zips, is the same as King K Rool's cloak. When DK fights this enemy, we can see golden skeletal arms are sticking out from either sides of its stony body. Since the smaller croc enemies have presumably Kremling skeletons inside, we can assume that a Kremling skeleton will be in this boss as well. But the four heads are what really stands out to me. King K Rool has four known aliases: King K Rool, Captain K Rool, Baron K Roolenstein, and King Crusher K Rool. He's not very creative with these. But these aliases mark each time he was defeated as a final boss in a Donkey Kong mainline game. I think it is possible that these four heads symbolize each of King K Rool's aliases. And I think within that four-headed boss is King K Rool's corpse. I think the Donkey Kong 64 ending scene is the last time we actually have seen King K Rool canonically. While King K Rool does appear in two games that came out after DK64, I do not believe that those games are canon, or they simply occur before DK64. The games were spin-offs, they were not standard mainline Donkey Kong Country games. As you can see in this cutscene, King K Rool goes flying over his mobile fortress and presumably lands in the ocean. We never see him again. It seems kind of silly, but it's entirely possible he died from that. That sounds dark, but frankly, Donkey Kong has been very dark in the past. Like I said before, there's frequently been things such as ghosts and the undead. And this would actually be really fitting on a meta level. King K Rool has had no mainline game appearance since the N64 era. That's over 20 years ago. Him returning to the series would effectively be him coming back from the dead. It's incredibly on the nose, but it really does feel like it could work in the Donkey Kong setting. I mean, really. At the end of the day, they're putting in golden crocodile skeletons in a Donkey Kong game. That's not exactly subtle. I propose that the following is going to happen in Donkey Kong Bananza. I think DK will go underwater to this world shown in the trailer. I think DK will discover that the Kremlings are dead and their bodies are here. I think this boss is King K Rool. I think while King K Rool and the Kremlings will not be antagonists this time, or at least not major ones, I do think that this game will lead to their revival and return. I think we will then see if DK Bananza performs well, which I imagine it will, a game with King K Rool as the main antagonist in the future. Now I know what you're thinking. Amalia, this is insane. This is wishful thinking. This is copium. And maybe it is. But if I know anything about Nintendo, I know this. A few days ago, no one would have believed the Switch 2 would get a From Software exclusive game that definitely is legally distinct multiplayer Bloodborne with a dinosaur spell and also jetpacks. People thought Metroid Dread would never happen, and no one ever thought Banjo-Kazooie or King K. Rool would make it into Smash Bros. But those things did all happen. Nintendo marches to the beat of their own drum, and they are only ever consistent in surprising everyone. Sometimes in good ways, sometimes in less than good ways. I do have to interject slightly and add that, yes, if King K. Rool returned from the dead in a very literal sense, that would align greatly with what I said in my Ultimate Nintendo Wishlist video. And maybe I'm a bit biased, and maybe I'm seeing what I want to see when I look at the evidence. But if it does happen, I think it'd be great, and I'll be very happy about it, and I will definitely attempt to not let it inflate my ego at all. But I will brag about it a little bit. Just a smidge. Just a tiny smidge. Now, this theory is dark. I won't downplay that. And I do think this theory could just straight up be untrue. Maybe it's nostalgia bait. Maybe it's a joke on the developer's behalf. I don't really know. But there's a lot of strange coincidences lining up, and I think that while new antagonists are great for old series, Nintendo is the type of company to never let us forget the past. We see it all the time with Mario and Metroid and Zelda games where antagonists return time and time again through various ways in order to continue their rivalry with their franchise's respective protagonist. I see no reason why King K. Rool would be treated any differently. And I think they will use his return to build up hype for the series and continue it forward since, I mean, they kind of opened a whole theme park for Donkey Kong. I think they want to see it do well. But that's just a theory. A silly theory. And I am curious to hear your take on it. Be sure to go down into the comments to tell me how absolutely bananas I am for thinking we will be seeing our favorite chunky crocodile very soon. And hit the subscribe button for more dragons talking about video games. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. And now, I get to go write a script about Donkey Kong's pants.